Welcome to Inspired Changemakers, a podcast about all the amazing things people are doing to make the world a better place. This podcast is about creating change and the moments that inspired our guests to activate. My name is Julia Healy, and I'm the CEO of United Charitable. Stay tuned to be inspired. Welcome to the podcast. I am so excited to have you here. We have a very long history. I can't wait to get into it. So I'm going to do your introduction. Dr. Love saying, Mindy Milavsky, principal of Lawrence Middle School in Mercer County, New Jersey, has dedicated her career to fostering a school environment that promotes compassion, empathy, and kindness. As an educator for over 30 years, Dr. Mindy Milavsky has made great strides in providing students with an educational experience that complements high standards in all academic disciplines with a focus on developing students' social and emotional competencies. Since becoming principal of Lawrence Middle School, she has received nine, not enough, nine promising practice awards from the Character Education Partnership and has been identified as the New Jersey State School of Character. Beyond the school day, Dr. Mindy Milavsky serves as an instructor for the Foundation of Educational Administrators, nationally recognized in the New Jersey Excel program, which inspires future administrators to lead with heart. And just most recently, in 2023, you were recognized as the New Jersey Principals and Supervisors Association Visionary Principal of the Year. Man, that's exciting. And because you weren't done, because one wasn't enough, right, in true Mindy fashion, you were also recognized as the National Association of the Secondary School Principals as the Distinguished Principal in 2023 as well. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, that you have other awards, but I can't spend the whole podcast reading your list of accolades. Okay.
And I love that you say Dr. Mindy Milavsky, because when you always wanted to call me Mindy, just Mindy.
Yeah.
So now you can call me Dr. Mindy.
Dr. Mindy, exactly. Well, I'm so excited to have you on this. And you know, my podcast and really the whole vision of this is sitting down and talking to people that are inspired change makers, whether they do it through their philanthropy work, right? Or it's because they inspire other people through their coaching. But you are the first educator that I've had on the podcast. And as you know, I come from a long line of educators, so this is very exciting for me. But we also have some personal history.
Yes, we do.
You were my first boss.
That's like my head goes boom on that one. I cannot.
So I can't wait to get into all of this, but I want to start with, tell me a little bit about your background.
Okay, first, I just want to thank you because you inspire me. And I'm just amazed by you. And so I'm very honored to be here. So thank you so much for inviting me. About me, what inspires me, is that what you're asking me?
No, tell me a little bit about your background. How did you get into teaching? What was kind of your path? Because I know you swam.
Yeah, I was a swimmer. But I've always wanted to be a teacher. I played school.
Did you?
Yeah, with my dolls.
Did you have a chalkboard?
I did not have a chalkboard. They didn't have those back then, Julia. There was no dry erase boards or chalkboards. I just had my little stools. Yeah. And then I would put my dolls on the stool. And we would play school all the time. I had my Barbies.
Okay, of course.
You know, I had to have Barbies. Ken was there too. So, okay. And I actually had a Donny Osmond doll. I'm really dating myself now.
Yeah.
But no, I just really wanted to help people. You know, I love sharing my life with other people and sharing their lives and learning about them and getting to know them. I'm very curious about all things. And so just to be able to share those things with other people. And I had a love for health and fitness and wellness. And so I started off as a health and phys ed teacher. And as you said, I was a swimmer. I played field hockey. You know, I like to run, and not now as much, but so fitness was a big part of that. So starting off as a phys ed teacher.
And when you were in college, you went to Trenton State, right?
Yes, it was Trenton State.
College of New Jersey,
yes.
For all my New Jerseyans that I just offended. And you swam in college.
I did. I started when I was 6 years old.
Okay.
I started teaching swimming, and I think that also kind of started my teaching experience besides babysitting. I started teaching when I was in 9th or 10th grade, swimming lessons, and swam all the way through, and then coached. Once I got into teaching, I coached cheerleading and swimming.
And then Mindy, cheerleading coach.
I know.
What made you want to make the switch from, because I did have you as a physical, you were my PE teacher in high school.
And your health teacher.
And my health teacher. Lovely.
Yeah.
I did have you as a teacher, but what made you want to switch to the administration side of it? What made you want to be a leader in that, right?
So I think of myself always as being a leader. It started like in high school. Again, I was student council president. I was the captain of the swim team, things like that. But it's not so much about the title. It's not about the title at all, really. It's about being able to help people move, right? To make the change happen.
Yeah.
To help people, get further and to kind of see the bigger vision. I feel like I have had strong relationships with people to help them to understand who they are, where an organization needs to move. And I just like doing stuff, right? It makes me better. So I love getting involved in just all aspects of it. At first I was an assistant coach, right? And I was an assistant principal, and I loved being behind the scenes. I did not want to be the one that was in the front, right? I was a dean of students, all of those things. And then you're kind of like forced to kind of move a little bit forward.
So that brings me back to when you were my boss. And you probably don't remember, because, it's funny, because what I've learned about is when you have moments with people, sometimes they stick with you more than they'll stick with somebody else, because it's just how they normally are and how they move through life, right? So I worked for you at Beatonsburg Country Club, right? And I was your camp counselor. I started off as a camp counselor, and then my last year, you promoted me to music director.
Yes.
So that means I was in charge of choreographing all the shows for the play or for the final recital. And then I was in charge of like the music hour for each of the camp counselors, or for each of the, I think we had like 6 or 7. Yeah. Each of the groups, we had like 6 or 7. And I remember coming to you and I was super excited, right? Like I taught dance, like was very excited about this opportunity, and I'm 17 years old. And I was about to go to college, and I was just very excited for this whole journey of my life. And so I was like, okay, so Min, what songs do you want me to do? What does it need to look like? And I was sitting there ready to taking a list, and you looked at me and you go, no, that's you. And I was like, wait, what? No, like I'll just take the notes and I'll do exactly what you want to tell. Yeah. And you go, no. They were like, you're the music director. I hired you to pick the music, to choreograph it, to put together the program, to design the stage. And I was like, but you're going to let me do, I'm 17. You're going to let me do all, I was like, and you know me. Yep. I was like, you're going to let me do all that. And you go, yes. Yeah. And you walked away. Like you weren't entertaining any type of conversation of, well, I've never done this before. Man, I don't want to let you down. Like you just said, this is your assignment. Like,
so first of all, you would never let me down.
That's true, yeah.
And I love that you remember that. I don't remember that. I remember like saying to you, like, it's your show, do what you need to do. But like, that's been kind of my philosophy, right? Is to, let people do what they do. If you have an idea you want to run with it, like my staff now, like they'll come to me and they're like, what do you think about this? Love it. Like, what do you need from me to help you make that happen?
That is the entire way I run United Charitable. That is the entire way that I interact with every single employee that I have. And that is because of the leadership that you gave me from the age of 17.
Wow.
And like, if you think about that, you don't think about as you're being such an example for a future leader, right? And the autonomy that you gave me, the freedom you gave me and I had some hiccups along the way, and and I needed your, do you remember, you probably remember this, is when I had this perfect dance in my head, and it was to Live in La Vida Loca, Ricky Martin, because that was very big, like very big.
I thought you were going to say something about NSYNC.
No, I wish.
We did that too.
I know, but, and I had a partner dance, and there was more girl camp counselors than boy camp counselors, and we had a partner dance, and I did not, and so I was like, okay, men, I only have enough girl spots for the boys, and you're like, no. We're working in an environment where everybody's included. Really, when you're looking at that, you were like, no, you're not. You were like, no. And I was like, but no, you don't understand. Like, this is my vision. And you said to me, if your vision makes other people feel bad about themselves, is that really the right vision? And I was like, oh, crap.
Joel, you're going to make me cry because I don't remember that.
And
I'm like, wow.
It's you though. Can you not hear yourself saying all those words?
I can hear myself, but it's not as way that you're saying it.
And
so
then,
I'm glad it had that effect on you.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, like especially, I mean, you're talking about 17 years ago, right? Like, and I've done a lot of work on myself to know.
Stop, 17. That would only make me 34.
Oh, good.
Love you. But it was 25 years ago.
Ouch.
Yeah.
So I was really young then too.
Yeah.
But, since then, right? Because not all people are able to take that kind of feedback.
No.
Right?
No.
So, and that's an important piece of it is in life, is that we're able to hear what other people say, that we also have to know how we're delivering it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so that might work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had a relationship back then.
Yeah.
And even now, right? Like we can talk to each other that way.
Yeah.
But I can't do that with all my employees, all of my staff. And I'm sure you can't do that with everybody here. So you have to know that.
Yeah.
You have to know how to deliver something. You have to know how the person may or may not react to it. And feedback is important. But to grow individually as a person, we need to be open to good and bad feedback.
I'd like to thank United Charitable for sponsoring today's Inspired Changemakers podcast. United Charitable is a national nonprofit that focuses on guiding you on your charitable journey. Whether you like to simply streamline your giving or you like to create your own charitable initiative, United Charitable has the knowledge and resources to support you. If you'd like to learn more, check out the link in our bio. So I definitely believe those life lessons that you taught me about leadership early on definitely shaped my career. It also goes back to what you just said. My parents very much raised me in a way that you are able to be coached. That's how my parents, they don't say those words directly, but they were always very like, hey, listen, you can learn things from, and I was annoyed as most of my life about this, but you can learn things from every environment that you're in.
Absolutely.
Every trip you go on, every person you meet, there is some kind of takeaway that you can learn to make yourself better. And I credit my parents for, teaching me the coaching mentality where it's like, if you need help, get a coach.
Yeah, and ask for help, right?
Yeah.
But it's about experiences.
Yeah.
Right? And having those, you had amazing opportunities that your parents gave you and the experiences. And, your parents have taught me, right?
Yeah.
Like so many things. I would not be the administrator, the person I am without your mother, about our relationship. And having those mentors, right? Like you had as your family. Yeah. And I've had, besides my own parents, but so many great mentors. And even people that weren't like officially mentors, bosses or coaches and things like that. There's anybody you go to, you have a chance to meet can be a mentor to you.
Give me an example of a mentor that was a surprising mentor to you that you did not think that you were going to learn something from, and tell me what you learned.
That's a difficult one because there's so many people. I'd have to say it's the kids, my kids at school, right? I teach I have 7th and 8th graders in the middle school, and how they respond to the things that we do, that's a mentorship, right? Like that, like they're giving me the feedback, like this is really good program, or this was not good, right? Like, why are we doing this? It's not going to be that. So, and just little notes that they might write me as well, gets me to think about like, what do I need to do differently?
And it's funny because I think, especially in today's day and age, that understanding that we can get negative feedback or things that didn't hit as what we thought they were going to hit and adjusting. But tell me, why do you think negative feedback and criticism is so hard for people?
Because everybody takes things personally, right? It's like you're not good enough, right? That we're not perfect, right? And so we're not able to, and we're just overly sensitive, especially now, I feel like. And so people are not comfortable being uncomfortable.
Right.
And so that part, they can't take that criticism. Like, what do you mean? I tried my best. It wasn't good enough. Like, what do you mean? It's not that I don't appreciate that you tried your best, but this is the standard, right? This is what the outcome, where I see it, or that I see you and that you can achieve so much more, right? Don't have raise the ceiling.
Right.
So it's trying to get them to see that there's so much more that they can do and be. And sometimes we can't see that in ourselves, right? We only have this limiting belief. So we have to, how do you tap into that, into their greatness and get them to see it?
We talk a lot about failures and how it's such a negative word in people. And I'm so afraid of it. Like,
You are?
Oh my God. And so that's why I really enjoy CrossFit, is because you actually try to fail. Like that means you've pushed yourself hard enough that you can't make that lift. You can't, right? But you've pushed yourself.
This morning.
You were at Burn Boot Camp, right?
Yep.
And so what have you learned from what is a failure that you kind of turned into something that was very positive and that worked?
Oh, I think it's been, that's a hard one too. I mean, because there's been a lot of failures, right? I would say probably it's been either not getting a certain position that I applied for, or like when I was swimming, like a time that I was going for, winning an election, like when I was in middle school, I didn't get the treasurer position, something like that.
Devastating.
Exactly, right?
Devastating.
But it's when you fall, how do you get back up? I think Brene Brown talks about this, right?
Yeah.
And how you respond to that. So that's what gives me the energy, right? Like, so, all right, well, I didn't get it now. What can I do differently?
Yeah.
Or it just wasn't the right time. When one door, closes, another one will open. And it's having that mindset that this isn't going to define me.
Right.
Right. And if it is going to define me, then how am I going to react to it? Right. And that's the character. You read in the bio about we're a school of character. Like, that's what we're trying to teach our kids, is like, how do we be resilient, but also showing good character? How do we come back from setbacks? Like, we're not always going to get straight A's, right? We're not going to even get A's and B's, right? We're going to do our best, but did you do your best? And if you didn't, then what can you do differently to improve?
And I think that, you're in you're the 7th and 8th grader, right? So they are 11 and 12.
So we go from like 11 to age 14.
Okay.
Even in this a 2-year school, right?
Yeah.
So they can come into 7th grade as 11, turn 12, then, 13, 14 in the 8th grade year. So it's 2 quick years and 2 years where there is a lot of doubt, right?
Yeah.
They're so worried about their friends, what their friends think of them, what their friends are going to say about them, fearful that they're going to make a mistake. Someone's going to say something.
Yeah.
We live in this world of everything is social media, the memes and all of the other things. So it's a scary time, and some kids will get through it really strong and other kids will struggle through it.
And I, as you know, I'm raising a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old, right? 2 little girls. How do you set them up and tell them that it is okay to fail? It is normal to doubt yourself. What messages do you keep telling them over and over?
Well, first you got to start with love, right? You got to, even as an educator, we talk about that constantly. and I'm not talking, obviously, it's not romantic love, right? It's
Yeah.
love that you care about them, that you want the best for them, that you want them to succeed and so forth. So showing them that love, that you're always going to be there, as a parent,
Yeah.
that you're always going to be there to support them. However, you're also going to push them, and that's okay. That's your job as a parent. So you need to recognize when they do achieve things and congratulate them, honor that, and then challenge them as well, right? To like, all right, that's great. What's our next goals?
Right.
What can we do differently? And if it doesn't go well, okay, it was a bad day. We dust it off, we move on, and I'm still going to be here. Dad's still going to be here. We're still going to get back into whatever that activity is, schoolwork. It's just a blip. Again, it doesn't define who you are, especially at 9 years old, right? So you just want to build their confidence as much as possible and keep having the conversations.
Right.
Just keep having the conversation.
I had one of my first business coaches have me take a white piece of paper and draw with a Sharpie, like a black line. And then they told me to take a pepper shaker and write, and you see all these dots. Mm-hmm. And they're like, okay, now push all the dots together to form the line. And then you realize you didn't see any of the dots anymore, because they're just these moments that you will absolutely disappear, that you will never remember again, but in that moment feel so real and alive and sometimes unsurmountable, right?
Yeah.
For even, I'm walking through it with a 9-year-old right now, so I couldn't even imagine in 2 years what I'm going to be dealing with. But stuff seems insurmountable to her, and it's like walking her through, and we talk about this a lot, planting the seed.
Yeah.
Tell me what that is.
So planting the seed, I think, is really about what you value, right? What you value as a family, what's important to you. I'm sure you talk to them about your family, right? You talk to your kids about the importance of family, what that means. You talk to them about caring for other people and being kind. You're not talking about like your worth is an A,
right,
in a class. It's about who they are. So it's really about, what do you value as a family, as a person, and then what did they like? How do they respond to that? And then just again having those conversations about, this is how we're going to move forward. Like, you're going to love your sister, even though she's getting on your nerves and she just maybe smacked you, right?
Yeah,
or pinched you, and you're screaming at each other. You got it. Like, okay, come on back. And like, how are we going to do this better? Right? How are we going to learn to get along, to appreciate each other's strengths? Because this is all we got, right? This is who you're going to have. Like, when mom and dad are gone, you're going to have your sister. So how do you build that foundation is showing them how to love each other, right? Modeling that and how you respond to them. And that's just the thing, just keep saying it over and over again.
And when I was looking at your bio, and you see what I just circled. When I was looking at your bio, what really stuck out to me is visionary principal. What is a visionary principal?
That's a good question. I think it's somebody that can see the full picture, right? Somebody who can see the organization, have an understanding. Like in my world of education, there's state standards, curriculum standards that we have to go by. There is expectations of the community, our school board. There are strategic plans, right, about wellness and academic expectations on all of those things. So now seeing that, taking that, and then creating a school and that meets all of those things. And you're not going to hit all of them, right? You're not going to be able to meet everyone's expectations because everybody's coming with their own set of values and things like that. But you want to make it inclusive. You want to make it comprehensive. for all students and a sense of belonging. So again, it goes back to values.
Yeah.
What do you value as an institution? What's our mission? And then how are we going to get there? So taking that and kind of coming up with the package. And that's not just me, right? That's a team. And I wouldn't have been able to receive that award without the team. The team got that award. And that team is not just other administrators that are part of our admin team. It's my staff, my teacher leaders, it's my students, it's parents, it's community, it's everybody, because they buy in, right? They're buying in and they're bringing their best. So, but you have to be clear on what you value, and then what's the mission? Is it and does it still connect? So every year at the beginning of the year, we look at our mission statement, and I show it to the kids, I show it to the staff, and I'm like, is this what are we still on the same page? Do we all believe in this, or do we need to change this? Is it in line with the state standards? Is it in line with the school board goals and things like that? But also, again, in our building, in our small building, do we believe this? Because if we don't, then what do we believe in? Because you got to give everybody a voice, and that goes back even to when you're talking about your kids, like, are you giving them some voice and choice in the things that, not that you're negotiating, right? But you got to have the conversation.
Yeah.
So that they know that they're heard, and that's the only way you can move the organization and have the vision, right? When everybody buys in, then you can do all the greatness, all the fun.
And do you think that applies to every aspect of your life?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So we've talked about this all the time, you and I, about routines, right? I have a routine. I get up at 4:30 in the morning. I work out. I have a gratitude journal. I do all the things. I meditate. But that's because if I go back to who I am, health and wellness is important. And I know that if I can't be my best self, like if I'm not physically fit, mentally fit, I can't help others, right? So that's something that I value. So I take time. I'm here, visiting in Virginia from New Jersey. This morning I got up, went to Burn Boot Camp. Yay, Burn Boot Camp. And it's a great opportunity because we can go to different camps in different places, and did my workout, took a walk, I listened to a podcast this morning, another podcast for some inspiration. And, I do affirmations as well. So I have to take care of myself, and that's something that I value. So it absolutely. And then you set goals. So you talked about before, right? Failure in the gym. My goal is to make it through without having to modify a certain exercise, or just get through it that day, depending on how you wake up. Some days are better than others. So you set the little goals. There's, I've had educational goals for myself. I've had job goals for myself, lots of different things, but it's really about being the best version of myself. How do I do that?
And we've, I think, and especially for women, and self-care is something that's very hard. And so I know personally, I've probably sat across from every person on my podcast thus far, and we've talked about self-care, and everybody tells me their version. And I think to myself, how do you do it? Like, I just need the roadmap.
But everybody's journey is different.
But why is self-care so important?
It goes back again to what I said before. Like, you can't give, right? We're here to serve. That's, that's our job, as humans, is to serve and to help. And that will bring us so much more in happiness and so forth. So if we cannot serve and fill our own cups first, we cannot give. You can't just keep pouring and pouring and pouring, right? Because you just won't. There's not enough there.
It leaves you bitter. No, it leaves you bitter and mean. What? No.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that it's going to leave you bitter and mean, but it's just you're going to be exhausted.
Uh-huh.
And then you can't be your best, right? So you have two beautiful girls, and I know you want to give them your best all the time. And we talk about this, you and I, about, you know, where do we say no? You know, what boundaries do we set up? And it's very hard because I am a people pleaser, right? I want people to like me. So I figure, like, I'll just say yes, 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 yes. And I've just started realizing, like, I can't do all that. Because, you know, I'm getting a little older, and it's a little harder to get up and do. But if I want to do all those things, I got to take care of myself, right? I won't have the energy if I just sit on the couch. I love to sit on the couch and watch TV. Oh, binge watch. I am the best binge watcher.
Are you?
Out there? Yeah.
What show are you binge watching right now?
I just watched, oh my goodness. I'm going to get it wrong. I can't even think of it right now.
Okay.
See, look at me. My brain, I just lost it.
You're like, I watched it on Hulu, but no. The most important thing that I got out of what?
Daisy Jones.
Daisy
Jones and the
was it good?
And the Six. That's what it is.
Okay,
Daisy Jones and the Six.
Was it good?
It was fabulous.
Okay,
fabulous.
So it'll be on my list.
Took me a while to remember that.
But the thing that you said that was most important in that conversation to me is that you said we're here to serve.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
I think that's something that it's been, I want to say, the last, I don't think 20 years of my life, right? The positions that I've been in, but just a lot of the things that I've read in terms of also kind of to better my own self and realizing that I was doing it all along, right? I was giving and serving, and service comes in so many ways, right? It might just be physically showing up, right? And being there for a friend, answering the phone call, showing up to the dance recital, showing up for whatever the activity is, right? And knowing that you're there to help, or just be there as that person, right? Like that kindness that is there. So serving comes in different ways. It's the doing, right? You go and you physically go and do something, like you're working in a soup kitchen, or you're planting trees, or building things and so forth. So I think it comes in lots of different things. And when I look back at my journey, like all of the things starting in middle school and being in student council and community service clubs, and high school, and then even in college, and serving as the leader, the president of the Health and PE Association, like you're doing stuff and you're serving other people. You're not just doing, yes, it comes back to you, right? You feel good. That fills your cup also when you know that you're able to help people. So I think that's, like I said, I think it's something that I've done all my life, but didn't realize it, like how important it was until the last 20 years or so.
I would like to thank Athletes Charitable for sponsoring today's Inspired Changemakers podcast. Athletes Charitable offers a concierge membership service that provides the tools and resources to build a legacy through service. Our athlete-led team has the first-hand experience and expertise to provide hands-on support that simplifies the entire process for athletes and entertainers to reach their social entrepreneurship goals and create lasting impact in their communities. To learn more, check out the link in the bio.
And I think it's really funny because we don't take a lot of time, or at least I haven't, and I'm starting to more recently, is taking, like, especially this podcast, is taking that look back of the journey of like how you got here. And in one of the other podcasts that I did with Rennie, actually, he was like, okay, what are the 3 moments? Like, did you hear that? Like, what are the 3 moments that really kind of like got you here? And it was really funny to me because I don't know if I would be where I am today if it wasn't for your example of leadership. Working for Wegmans was so good for me. I have never gone through so much customer service training in my entire life. And I worked there for about 5 years, summers and breaks from college. And they kept training over and over and over again on how do we want to make people feel when they walk in the store. Right.
And they have, I think Wegmans and I think Whole Foods also, they have their values like on the wall. And when during my graduate school, and we talked about mission and values, and I was like, why don't I have it up on the wall in our school?
Yeah.
And so we now have it up on the wall. But I agree with you in terms of knowing, having that sense of, again, it goes back to like, what is it that drives you, the values? And go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's fine. But when we look at Beatensbrook, right,
Yeah.
that's just a tiny example of my life, right? Tiny example is that you look at it and we had camp counselors, we had lifeguards, we had a whole bunch of high school students that you were leading to provide a great opportunity for kids, right? They were learning golf and tennis and this, and you
Arts
had
and crafts.
Arts and crafts. That was my favorite. I loved off. That was actually my favorite. But and pool, right? Because
swimming.
swimming.
Have swimming.
But you had us all on the same team, and it was really easy for me to go to work every day and know what I was expected of me and be bought into the team. And I was in Wegmans and I'm bought into the team. And then I have some other life experiences where it wasn't being bought into the team, where it was a different version of leadership, where it's like, oh no, you waited for your checklist. And I was like, wait, I've never been given a checklist in my life. Like, you've told me what the goal is. And then you've asked, then most of the leaders that I've worked for would ask me then to create the way to get there. And it was really interesting to me. And you get to make decisions of how you are going to lead and how you're going to interact for people and how you're going to show up for people. And when you can really clearly make the decision, I liked it when I was led in this way. So why, and I go over this over and over again, but leadership is so important. But how do you train other leaders?
So I'm very fortunate that I have the opportunity. I do mentor young administrators, people that want to go into the field. And it goes back to servant leadership, right? Like, and being authentic, being who you are, right? So there's all these different styles of leadership. You can read about all of them. And I think for me is that I'm living my authentic self. And it's not always good, right? So
You're not perfect.
No. So like some of those leaders that you were just talking about too, right? Like that might have given you, because there's times that you have to be that way, right?
Yeah.
There's times that necessitate that there's the list, right? We need this, 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 and this done now.
Yeah.
Right? And then there's the other times where you're like, all right, this is a great project. What are you going to do? How are we going to do it? What do you need? All of those things. So for me, it's about like, how are you going to serve? So it's the servant leadership part. Do you need me to be in the back? Do you need me to be in the front? Like, where do you need me in that part? And then it's like, okay, I'm going to tell you how it is too, right? Like,
yeah.
And sometimes that's hard
conversations,
right? Because that's the authentic piece of me. That I can't hide it. Like the face is not always good. I've tried to work on that. Some people will like that. Some people don't like it. Right. I say that in my orientations with families, like I'm going to be direct with you, because they need to hear it sometimes. Right. So that they have a clear understanding of this is how it's going, or how the organization is going to be. Like this is school. This is a safe place in lots of different ways, right? Because we hear all these things, scary things about schools. It's a safe place that strangers don't come in and hurt us, but also when we're here, it's a safe place to take risk, right? And then what does that look like? So you have to define that for people. And sometimes that's being brutally honest of what you're not going to accept. We're not going to accept people that are mean, that are not kind, that do not respect each other, don't respect the building, don't respect the facilities, all of those things, don't respect our families, right? So we have a cardinal code, and like this is how we're gonna live, right? Like the cardinal code is that's our mascot. So it's being respectful, being responsible, being ready, and so we define what that looks like, right? So it's it's the cardinal way, it's the cardinal code. But so even though it's direct, but it's really just setting that expectation. And again, it goes back to what you value. But it's hard, and you have to be real about it so that people can see who you are as a person, and they're going to want to work for people that are real. If I'm fake all the time, and if I'm just stroking your ego, like, how is that going to get us anywhere? How are you going to improve? I keep telling you, oh yeah, you're just so great. But if I don't tell you really why you're great, or tap into like, I need you to do this because I see this in you, we're not going anywhere. We're just going to stay stagnant as a school, as an organization.
And how do you prepare yourself to have those difficult moments?
I'd have to do it. Sometimes there's, it's hard. You have to have difficult conversations, right? Like I'm not a real big fan of confrontation. But when I have to do it, you have to, get your mind right. In those incidents, I have to do a lot of self-talk. Sometimes I'll write down like what the points that I want to say. Other times it's just in my head. I'll do my homework. Like, I'll be prepared, right? Yeah. You have to be prepared with factual information, not just how you feel, right? Like it has to be specific things, because people need to have those specific things. It's not like, well, this is how you're making me feel, or no, that's not real. Right? You're just making somebody feel bad. That's not it. It's being very conscious of like, this is what you're supposed to do. This didn't happen, and then how I see why it didn't happen. So you have to do the homework.
And I think the hardest thing that we have in this world, right, is that when we want to create change and we want to be different, and we can want it so bad, but what do you do to actually start those steps or those moments?
That goes to the seeds, right? So, it's knowing your team. And knowing your kids too. Like for me, for school, it's the kids in our school, but knowing your team and their strengths. Like, everybody has strengths. You wouldn't have hired the people for your organization if they weren't bringing something special to that organization. And everybody has a different strength, right? We call that at our school, we call it your greatness, right? Every kid has greatness. So how do you tap into that? You see it, you recognize it, and then ask them. Like, so you'll ask them for something like, have you ever thought about doing this? Or I really need you to start XYZ, right?
Right.
So really tapping into people's strengths and seeing them, and then just putting out those things like, what do you think about this? I was thinking about this. And let people poke holes in your crazy plans, because I've had some crazy plans. And so I'm like, do you think this will work? Like, I'll just ask random people, and they feel like, wow, she wanted to hear me. Again, voice. You're giving people voice. You're giving people choice. Sometimes you have to do it in a survey. Sometimes, you got to hear hard things. Like, I put out surveys to my staff, like, what can I do differently? And it's like, I'm like afraid to open them sometimes, but you have to.
Right.
But you got to put it out there to kind of see how people feel about it, and then say, this is nuts. It's not going to happen.
And now switch it to personal. How do you then create the change in yourself personally?
I count on my friends to be honest with me, too. You have to have people that are going to tell you the truth, right? So if you only surround yourself with like-minded people, that's not going to happen for you, right? Because you're just going to keep wearing the same, we've been in the dressing room, turn around and go back out. Like, that's what you can't wear that. But it looks nice. This is the color I want. No, you can't say that to everybody. Right. But so you have to surround yourself with people who are going to tell you the truth, but also people who think differently than you do and have an open mind.
So important.
You have to be open to different perspectives. If we're not, like, what are we doing? Like, why? That's what we're here for. Like, to hear, to grow, to learn, to experience. all of those things. Like, how do we do it if we don't like?
I'm going to start crying. I feel very lucky personally to have had you as a mentor and
I'm
a role
luckier,
model,
Julia.
like,
I am more
in my life, just because I don't know if that mentality, like, you know, you have been an example of that your entire life. And I've been with you for a lot of your ups and downs, and you've been with me through all of my ups and downs and all of the like
more ups. Yeah,
more up. But to have those type of people in your life that can honestly say, and I remember being, you know, out of my mom's friends, we'll say it like that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say all of them open up about what they struggle with, right? It's a very certain type of person that can be vulnerable, that can say, I struggle with this, but also can say, I want this, right?
Yeah.
And you really continually do that. And you've been how long in Lawrence now?
This is going to be my 32nd year.
So what year did you start?
Oh, thanks, Julia. Now that everyone's going to know how old I am. 1992.
Oh my God. And you've really, throughout all of it, right? Like, you have been that vulnerable leader that says, hey, listen, I know I need to work on this, but I'll really, but I'm really good at this. But number one, I'll show up for you for this.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to work on this, I'll help you. I'll give you all the tools and the resources to get you there. And that's not everybody's like that.
Well, I think that, again, it comes from being around good people, right? So it's being reflective. It's setting personal goals for yourself. I as you said, like, I've had ups and downs. I'm not perfect. I know that. But I try to own it, right? We got to own who we are. Confidence comes with trying new things, taking risks, practicing. I think that a lot of my leadership comes from my background as a swimmer. I'm very grateful to my parents for also pushing me. Like, there wasn't a day, like, I didn't get to stay home. My parents were tough, right? Like, you didn't, like, I didn't get to not feel good. And I still had to go to school. Like, you get up and go to school. There's no staying home. And we didn't have a lot of money growing up, right? So the fact that they put us in swimming and we were on a club team and doing all those things, like, we wanted to respect their hard work and putting us in those programs. And so I've always learned to work hard. Like, my dad never stayed home either. Like, he always, I look at him now and the medical issues that he's had and the strength that he brings. He's a strong man. He worked 2 jobs my entire life. He worked up to, I think he was 79 when he finally retired, and just worked and worked and worked. And so that's been instilled in me, that work ethic, and to always try to be better, and to get better and to respect my parents. That's I see it sometimes, and it's scary that I don't think there's always that respect, but I want my parents to be proud of me, and I'm so fortunate to be a part of your life, Julia, that I'm so proud of you, right? And to see the wonderful moments. And, like, when we can celebrate each other, like you talked about women and the hardships, like, when we can celebrate each other, that's what makes life good.
Right.
Life is not, like, we make life so difficult, and it doesn't need to be. Like, if we honor ourselves, honor other people, we serve, we share in the love and the wonderfulness that's happening. How can life be bad? Life is good then. But we got to keep remembering, right? Because we can get in our own heads. And that's a lot of self-talk to get out of it.
Well, man,
It's
a lot. And we are going to end on that note, because that was exactly what I wanted out of this podcast today, is that belief, right? That pep talk, that the world is good. That coaching you, that really it's about showing up, connectivity. How can we, and you also said that your best looks different every day, and being okay with that.
Yeah.
Well, Mindy, thank you so much.
Your best is looking really good. It's looking good today.
I know. Thanks, man. But no, thank you so much, honestly, for being on the podcast. I appreciate all the support throughout, everything in my life. So it's hard to wrap up in a sentence.
Well, Julia, I love you. And just thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
So what's the 2024 award that we are going to, no, awesome. All right. Thanks, man. Thanks for being here.
Thanks.
Find Inspired Changemakers on Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn, and comment on all the awesome things you are doing to make this world a better place. Don't forget to subscribe.